You are listening to the $1 Billion Podcast. Got a couple $1 billion guys here. I'm sure we got a whole paper here of $1 billion ideas. And I apologize for wasting all of your $1 billion time, but we're here today with the $1 Billion Podcast, and I'm back on the couch.
Yeah, you're back in person. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how much I've missed the feeling of this couch and looking at the screen here. We got our studio set up. So I got to ask, so we had internet issues last week. I have that fixed.
Oh, nice.
I did some, I used to do tech support.
You're a big internet issue guy.
Am I?
Yeah, you are. Unfortunately, which is weird given you're a very tech savvy person. You're like, you got like an IT guy who comes to your house and you got like, you're constantly having issues.
So I believe I've put the issues behind me. I think the bigger problem is I've never had a stable home office before. And this is the first time in my life with a stable home office. And I can say this is life-changing. It is life-changing to my productivity. And I'm going to ask, I mean, we're moving out of this place soon, right?
Yeah. Hopefully, in April.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, beginning of April?
If we can get out of the lease, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they violated the terms. So.
Yeah. Oh, we have a big win to share. So SetJet, after 5 months, finally removed their cars from our spaces.
Yeah, I mean, so SetJet, for anyone who doesn't know about our, this is not the sponsor for today. No. I mean, overpriced.
Yep.
Very few routes.
Very rude.
Yeah, rude membership model that sucks. I mean, we don't want to be. I'm sure this isn't great for our co-tenant ship, but here anyway. These guys suck. I mean, they have come in and crashed. Is it every single one of our events now?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I haven't experienced a lot of abuse in my life, but now I understand what it feels like to be abused.
Yeah, I mean, it's SetJet, we don't have kind words, and so we will continue to discuss.
I was when I saw the cars not on the lot for the first time. Who is it who says on The Office that it's just nice to win one? Is that Kevin? You remember that quote from The Office?
I think
it's just nice to win. I've been in so many battles lately. It's just nice to get a W. They don't come around often anymore.
Yeah, it's it's sometimes things, what we do, what Matt and I do, and we'll talk about it probably time and time again. It's a grind.
Yeah.
Because the biggest part of our job is dealing with financial stress. And our stomach lining, and we are mathematicians and we're analytical problem solvers, and we have predictions that we bet money on, and sometimes they pan out and sometimes they don't. And
yeah, we're coming up against the big bet that we'll see if it pans out. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. So anyway, I now for the future of the show, moving out of here, what are we going to do?
We'll have to put it at one of our houses and just go there.
So we're going to go in person?
Yeah, definitely.
Not going to do online home studio style?
No.
Really? I kind of have my setup going.
No. This show needs to be in person, you and me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we can arrange for that.
Yep.
Okay, so our sponsor today is Desert Financial Credit Union.
Okay.
And the reason that we've picked them as the sponsor is because they're the name sponsor of Sun Devil Stadium, where ASU basketball plays its home games. And so I happened to go down there for a game, first time ever.
Nice.
And the thing that you need to know is the ASU Scum Devils suck.
Wow.
And so I'm a U of A guy. This is my rival. And I walk in, and for $125 a seat, I'm sitting like right behind the bench. I mean,
is that cheap?
So cheap.
Okay.
Yeah, for college basketball, this is like dirt cheap.
Who are they playing?
U of A.
Oh,
this was the game I went to the U of A game.
Oh, nice.
And so then I get there and I'm sitting in like the ASU crowd. These are like the biggest ASU fans that pay a lot of money for shitty basketball. And they're in Sun Devil Stadium, and the stadium sucks. I mean, just one of the worst places I've been to.
Yep.
And the U of A comes in there and walks all over them. And I'm telling you, I was in the ASU section. There wasn't a U of A fan near me. And I'm calling for timeouts for the coach to stop the Wildcat runs. I'm being a super douchebag.
But they loved you there.
And then as we're dribbling the ball out, the whole stadium U of A chants. And it was awesome. So
I mean, they're 7-14 on the year.
Yeah, I mean, they suck.
They're awful.
ASU's horrible. And my favorite thing is I get to watch Bobby Hurley, who is a Puke alumni. So he went to Duke, and he big college basketball guy back when he was in the day, who great player.
Was he the one who was the head coach who's famous in New Jersey high school? Was that his dad or something?
Yeah, that's his dad. Exactly.
Okay. I've seen him in person.
So this guy is like Mr. Temper Tantrum. And so you get to watch a grown person not be able to control their emotions for
it's
about
sad.
2 hours. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah. Just sweating through their suit.
Yeah, and then they're just like literally screaming like face to face with an official. And
they've had some big wins lately. Big win over UCLA the other day.
Yeah, a triple overtime win at home over UCLA. You know,
Nice.
that's what we came. And hey, look, we walked in there and we were down 14-1 right away. They came out hot.
Nice on-time arrival for you.
Yeah, and then it was just a complete landslide after that. And it was great night to be a Wildcat, of course. And thanks to the folks at Desert Financial Credit Union for having pity on ASU and name sponsorship of their stadium. So
well, even the losing franchises need to have financial support.
They need to have financial support.
We support that.
And hey, I mean, look, that's why I'm calling them out. I want the folks at Desert Financial Credit Union to get the name recognition that they paid for, because they're not getting the product of good basketball that they were promised.
Damn. All right. Well, big win. Congrats, UA basketball.
UA basketball right now. So yeah, and this is the best part of the college basketball season, because it's all excitement, no disappointment. So I'm a Arizona Wildcat basketball fan, which means I lose in the Elite Eight.
Oh, yeah.
And
Kansas will also lose in the Elite Eight. It's going to be a really good spring for your boy here. Meaning me.
Yeah. No. There's one acceptable outcome, and it is the University of Arizona in the Final Four. If that happens, it's a successful season.
What are you going to do with New Orleans if both teams lose before they get to that Final Four?
No, so I haven't booked a flight. What I'm going to do is buy a ticket for the national championship game. I got a kids weekend, so I can't go to the Final Four game on Saturday night. I can only go to the national championship.
That helps
Monday.
me a little bit. They can make the Final Four, but if they don't make the Final Two, I'm good. So
yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's even more.
Think about it. Think of all the bad mojo I am in person. I think my teams almost always lose when I go for big games.
See,
so you want me in the stadium to see a loss?
That's a tough call. You're probably right.
Yeah, you want me to pay?
Yeah, that's true.
I think right now a ticket is like what's a Super Bowl ticket go for?
Cheapest about $6,000.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
really shit.
Back when I thought my team might have a chance. Of course they didn't. Yeah, there was $6,000.
So you bought tickets?
No, I was monitoring. Apparently with Super Bowl tickets, it's best if you buy like 5 days before the Super Bowl. It's actually
really that's price optimal.
Yeah, if you buy right after the championship games, that's when they're really, really high, and then the excitement dies down, and then people resell, and about 5 days before is when it's cheaper.
All right, this is good to know, because right now a ticket to the championship game is $2,400, and
wow.
I thought, so I've had this great experience with my son's tickets, and I thought, okay, well, what if I buy them now? Then even if we don't make it, I could sell them for a profit, but maybe I'd sell them for a loss.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, so I'll hang on. I think there's a fairly high likelihood that I'll be in New Orleans.
So if one team's there, if one Kansas or UA is in there, you're going.
So Kaylee and I have a deal. Yes. So if one of our teams is in the national championship game, no matter what, we always go.
All right. That's great. I like it.
Yeah. So got 2 shots every year, and we'll see what happens.
Nice.
So but I got to say, I think like at some point how much sports are we going to put on this show? Because that's, I think, the thing that like we're sort of looking for what we're going to talk about. And that's something that, I've spent a lot of time researching content creation. So right now, one of the projects that I'm doing is writing a book, and I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this. And this show, coming back on, I have a lot of excitement. I've got a lot of energy. I'm very happy to be here. And I think one thing that Richard has really imparted as feedback on the show is the lack of content continuity. Like, we don't have an intended audience. We don't have a real purpose. We just kind of show up and talk. So do we want to keep that? Because I kind of like that. I kind of like just like hardly anyone listens anyway. So you might as well just have fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't want something super structured. And I don't, on the back of my head, I don't want to like think about, is my audience constantly getting value? Like, that's just not why I'm here.
Perfect.
Like, they'll inherently get value, but
so we're just here to have a good conversation between you and I, and then the rest, if anyone else enjoys it, that's just
if you
secondary side effect.
If you all listening, whoever is listening, if you want specific things talked about or questions, just send them in to bdppod.com and we will talk about them, guaranteed. So if you want to shape the show in that way, we'll talk about anything.
Yeah. Graham
has been, I don't know where Graham's been.
Yeah. Graham, actually, he asked the question on the Mastermind Q&A. I saw him the other day. And
he's been a ghost here.
Yeah, I mean, so who's our
Evan's
the heavy hitter? Yeah,
has a question today.
There we go. Thanks, Evan. All right, let's hear what. So do we want to hit? We got COVID corner coming up. Do we want to do COVID corner right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna do some. So I'm just back from Cabo, as everyone on YouTube can see from my glow.
Oh,
it was amazing. So LeBlanc Resort in Cabo, highly recommend. George, you and Kaylee would love it. Food, dynamite.
Right, it all inclusive?
All inclusive.
Oh, all inclusive.
Right on the best. Right on the water. You can order lunch on the beach, the pool. They have like probably 7 restaurants you can go to, different themes. They have music, whatever you want. 24/7 room service. Just really, really nice.
So walk me through 5 days at a resort. What does the Guarino Broen vacation look like?
All right. So you're going to get, you can schedule breakfast to the room. So breakfast to the room delivered probably about 8:00.
So you schedule the night before?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Scheduled, delivered. We wake up right when the door is being knocked on.
So you set your alarm to the person bringing breakfast?
Pretty much. So we'll lounge around the room for a little bit. Then we'll either do something like fitness related, like she'll do yoga. I'll go to the gym, get back, shower. Then it's right to the beach. We're big beach people, especially her. So we'll get they have like these couches you can sit on the beach, which is really nice. And probably order lunch to the beach or go to one of the restaurants there. There's tons of whales that you can see just from the beach, which was awesome. Like every 30 minutes you'd see the blowhole or they do a jump.
Oh, really?
Super, super cool. I've never seen anything like that. So probably hang on the beach for a while till about 4. Go back to the room, maybe have a cocktail or 2. And then dinner reservation probably about 7. In bed by 10, asleep. That's more or less your day right there. Obviously skipping through some details.
And then times 5.
And then at least one excursion. So we did a snorkeling and whale sighting trip. So we went on a boat, saw like the architecture around Cabo, and did snorkeling and paddle boarding, and then we followed whales around and got close to them.
So you left the resort one time?
One time, yeah. I'm a big
You're big lounge at the resort.
Yeah,
guy.
if you're there for like 7-8 days, maybe you do 2 excursions. But if you're there, I was only 4 nights. So if you're there 4 nights, I don't mess it up. Like you're more happier at the beach and at the pool. I mean, that's what you pay for.
So I got questions.
Yeah.
About this. So first, so how many hours is the excursion?
The excursion was 3 hours.
Okay, that's reasonable. That's not like a full day. Yeah, I don't like the 8 to 10 hour just completely remove me from any relaxation.
Well, I say 3, but we left the resort probably around 10. We didn't get back till like 2:30. So there's a lot of waiting. You got to pick up other hotels, and then you're waiting for the shuttle to leave when you finish the thing. So it's a little bit I don't love that aspect of it. That's why I only did one of them.
I think my aversion for being with other tourists when I travel is actually growing. I don't like other people more and more.
Well, so what I really found with this resort, it was the perfect size. I would say I'd estimate maybe like 300-400 people were there. So enough that there's like people around and having fun, but not like too many that you feel crowded.
Yeah.
I've determined that I really like being amongst people, but then not actually interacting with any of the people. I want to see them and observe them, but I don't want to say anything to them.
So it's funny because I feel like, through the seasons of, my life so far, I've noticed my levels of extroverted and introvertedness have fluctuated given at where I'm at in my life. And yeah, I just not a big fan of just going to meet random people that I'm never going to see again.
And everyone's really making friends, and they're talking to each other, and they're finding out about their lives. And we're just sitting there. They have this big hot tub where everyone's just they know each other's names. They're ordering drinks for each other. She's like, why don't we why come no one talks to us? I'm like, well, that's great. That's by design. That's what I'm trying to go for.
I'm trying to give off the don't talk to me vibe.
I probably talked to I don't know, 3 people for 10 seconds each.
Yeah. Just keep it short and simple.
Yeah.
So now the other question I have is, so this is something that, we got a lot of people listening, and, we have a lot of vacations, and we've talked about the value of doing an escape your life, routine type thing. What's your thoughts on leaving the United States versus staying in the United States? So Cabo's kind of like that, barely across the border, but also very Americanized spot in Mexico. What are sort of your thoughts on that?
I was very intentional about picking Cabo for a couple of reasons. First, of course, the COVID restrictions. So there's no testing required to get in, no vaccine, no testing to get in the country.
How was the COVID restrictions while you were there?
That'll bleed into my COVID corner. I'll get to that.
Okay.
But I knew
it was masks, hand sanitizer, and thermometers.
There was some bad stuff, and
did you step on the disinfectant?
It's worse than that.
I've been to Mexico.
No, and the other reason I picked it, same time zone, 2-hour flight, direct flight. I mean, so
yeah, direct flight's a big thing.
She wanted to go to Hawaii, and despite the COVID stuff, that's still, you went there. It's a long flight.
It's so far.
It's different time zone. There's jet lag. Cabo is so easy. 1 flight, 2 hours, you're there. And then same time zone. There's no, I get back to, late on Monday night, and Tuesday I'm totally fine. That's what I like. I like the vacation spot that's in your time zone. That's a, say, 3-hour flight or less. and then you're there. So if like Caribbean for the Northeast and stuff, and then Cabo for West.
Caribbean to get there from here is brutal. I mean, you got to go across the country and then take a flight. Like it's insane.
Oh, they don't do direct flights to Caribbean?
Dallas is the only spot. They only hit some spots. But so otherwise you got to go to the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean, and if you are going like overseas or something, you just want to make it a longer time. It's got to be at least 10 days.
Yep.
Like, and I'm also pretty mad at myself that I made this only 4 nights. I went against my 2-week thing, and I'm really kicking myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't long enough.
Yeah, Super Bowl was it the Super Bowl that got you?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so now the last thing I'm gonna say, yeah, that's a big homer bet right there.
Yeah, for real. Oops.
So having been to the ocean, right? There's like all people talk about all the time, like staring at the ocean, like does something to you, like it calms you down, it sort of lets you forget about your concerns. Mm-hmm. Did you find that like that beach, that the relaxation hit while you were there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now, do you find, so what I find is that the blue sky in Arizona, like January, February in Arizona, I mean, in my opinion, wins. Like weather in America.
It does win. That is actually a fact.
It wins.
Yeah.
And something about Phoenix that is super unique. There are like no clouds in the winter.
That's very true.
And you get the bluest, prettiest sky to look at every day when you drive to work or when you're walking around, then you can see mountains. And for me, it has the same effect as the blue ocean. It's just like that, like just painted blue. And I'm curious, like your first winter here, you know, what's the experience like? How have you enjoyed it? Do you see that comparison?
Yeah, the sky's definitely bluer here for sure. And I would say, you know, overall, Phoenix probably has the best weather in the country that isn't San Diego. I think San Diego might win that, but it's tough to beat the weather here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no clouds. Like, that's not an exaggeration. There just aren't clouds. I mean, you might get a cloudy day once every 2 to 3 weeks. Like, that's unheard of. That is unheard of.
So this is where Kaylee and I actually argue a lot. She likes San Diego weather better. I actually like Phoenix weather better because
there's an argument made there.
I like the colder nights and I like the desert dryness a little bit more. Like, because San Diego's so windy.
Yeah, it is very windy.
It's windy and it's a little colder.
I don't like wind.
I don't like wind either.
I dislike wind a lot.
And here it's like a still cold night, and it's just nice.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably one that likes the temperature fluctuations. Like the temperature fluctuates a lot in Phoenix between morning and night. Like, it's like 30 degrees. That's pretty unheard of from everywhere I've lived in my life.
Yeah, no. So like right now I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and that whole thing of shorts and a t-shirt in the wintertime, it's like a midday. And like it doesn't work in the morning and it doesn't work in the afternoon, evening. It's like, but midday you can do that. But then on the other side, you're like in winter. So it's like winter, you know, decent
like
weather.
In 4 hours, you're going to be freezing if you wore that outside.
Exactly. I'd have to change or get a jacket or something. Yeah. Yep.
Well, anyways, to bleed into my COVID corner stuff. So there was a lot of masks there. Let's put it that way. A lot. So all the staff members, and there's a lot of them. It's a resort. You know, they're waiting on you a lot. So they're all wearing masks. And it really bugged me because it creates this kind of like servant masterclass dynamic where like the servants have to wear masks and the masterclasses don't. And that's a really bad push for society. And I'm trying to think if like some liberal elites like that, they're not able to see the faces of their people serving them. It's very dehumanizing. And it really affected the trip negatively. That kind of, you get disrupted by that?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the intention, right? Like,
I know, but the effect is awful. It's awful. Like when you go to a restaurant and you don't have to wear masks and all the people wearing masks as they're waiting on you, that is so weird. We've been desensitized to it, but think about it. That's fucking weird.
Yeah. So I think that's the point that you're talking about is the desensitization of like the suppression.
Yeah.
Right. It's an oppressive, suppressive like legislation that has persisted over time to the point where it's normal now.
That can't exist past this year. Like that's got to stop.
I mean, this is like segregation type stuff.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And one thing I love about Phoenix is there are a lot of restaurants you go to where this doesn't exist. Like
not a single mask.
And in New York, you will never find that anywhere.
Really?
No. I mean, you won't have to wear a mask to go to the restaurant and sit down and all that, but the staff is masked 100%.
Really?
Yeah. It's really bad. So, I mean, that colored the trip, and I will be leaving a Google review with the resort. They're one of those types of resorts that responds to all Google reviews. So I can't wait for their response.
So you're Mr. 1 star?
No, I'm not gonna do 1 star. I was thinking between 3 and 4 because it was really nice. It honestly blew my expectations out of the water. It was like LeBlanc and Cabo. Seriously, if you're in the West Coast.
As somebody who has a Google My Business page, as like a business owner, I cannot give someone a 1-star review out of like pure karma.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you can.
I can't. Like, I cannot mentally get myself there.
There was a ice cream place in New York that you order outside that would not serve me unless I had a mask on. 1-star review.
Yeah, no,
that's my favorite ice cream place too. Not anymore.
Is that the one that we went to?
Yeah, it is. It's really good ice cream.
Yeah, it dripped all over my hand. It was great.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do some COVID things if you don't mind.
I wait for COVID corner.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah.
I mean, the people need to know what is happening.
Oh, there's a lot happening.
See, guys, I will not accept a deflated, disempowered COVID corner. No. If we're gonna do COVID corner, we are pumped up. We are excited. This is the best thing ever. We're doing COVID corner.
Okay,
let's hit it.
So, if you all saw in the news recently, a lot of states came out and removed their mask mandates. All kind of coordinated within the same couple of days. What do you think really happened there, George? Do you think maybe a randomized control study was released that didn't support mask usage, or was there some kind of science that changed in the last 2 days that all these blue states got rid of them on the same days?
No, but I actually I wish we would be a little bit more direct and open about what is actually happening here. So can we?
Oh, we sure can. So states like New Jersey, Massachusetts, California, Illinois, Delaware, Connecticut, etc., all removed their mask mandates or plan to by the end of February. Now,
and how is that? How much has that been publicly stated versus sources?
No, like they announced that they're ending their mask mandates. The governors announced.
Okay, this is what I don't understand. Like, okay, like you said, right? I am good. The governor is going to announce that at the end of this, we are going to remove a mandate. But like until then,
oh yeah,
it's necessary.
No, until then. So on February 27th, it's necessary. On the 28th, it's not.
Yeah. So between the 27th and the 28th.
And I'm going to tell you why the end of February is an important time for the Democrats in a second. So this was an interesting quote I saw in a New York Times article. So they're talking about the Governor Murphy in New Jersey, which was the first state to do this, kind of like the leader of all this. So he said Murphy's team arranged focus groups across the state to discover what was behind the results of the election in November. If you remember correctly, Biden won that state by 16 points. Governor Murphy won that by 1 point over a no-name Republican. His advisors were surprised to find voters across the board were frustrated with coronavirus measures and craved normalcy, according to the report. So that is the governor of New Jersey directly confirming that he's using politics to shape his policy and not actual science.
No, this is even worse. This is so the term focus group. We need to break this down. So guys, sorry, rant coming. COVID corner extended.
Yeah.
Focus group. Focus group means would like to see how the public will react to something before we release something.
There's a name for that. What's the name when you like leak something to the press to see how people will react?
Oh, yeah. It's a very common media thing. Like sources say they are considering this to see the
NFL does this all the time.
Well, I mean, they do this in the White House all the time with Congress. Like Congress, like it passed the House, waiting for Senate, like and it's like, or they'll have all of that. Yeah. So, guys, one thing we are going to discuss at length in this version of the $1 Billion Podcast moving forward is how to see through credibility in the media. The term focus group means somebody is going out of their way to assemble small groups of average regular voters in different counties to see how they would react to something before they do something. So keep going.
Yep. So all of these Democratic states are set to expire at the end of February. Well, what is happening at the beginning of March? Very important. So on March 1st is Biden's State of the Union. So this is where he's going to come and announce that the Democratic Party is leading the country out of the pandemic. And my big topic for this COVID corner is gaslighting. Now, George, you know what that word means, right?
Yes.
So it's when an abuser, and I'm going to define it, I'm sure everyone knows, but it's when an abuser creates a false narrative to make the recipient question their own reality. Okay. So this is what the Democratic Party is going to do. And it's already started. So the one claim that came out, and there's a clip I can play if we want.
Yes, we should.
Okay, I'll play it.
This is Rochelle. This is the one about her completely denying the true information of. This is the one that you said with the press secretary, right?
This is Jen Psaki talking about.
This is guys.
Lockdown.
This is appalling. So I'm a follower of Matt's Twitter, which is amazing, and some of this stuff is just tough to. Okay, here we go.
There was this meta-analysis that came out of several studies lockdown during the first wave of COVID in spring of 2020 found that it only reduced COVID mortality by 0.2% in the U.S. and Europe, and suggested they have little to no public health benefit, but severe consequences for the economy. And it suggests that lockdowns shouldn't be a part of a future pandemic response. Is that the shared view of the administration looking in the rearview mirror?
Well, I would first, of course, point you to our health and medical experts for specifics on this specific scientific study. I would note that the president has been clear. We're not pushing lockdowns. We've not been pro-lockdown. That has not been his agenda. Most of the lockdowns actually happened under the previous president. But our objective has been is to conveying that we have the tools we need to keep our country open, thanks to the president's leadership and focus on fighting the virus. And that's reflected in the fact that 98% of schools are open. Over 210 million Americans are fully vaccinated. We have the tools to avoid lockdowns, and we're not moving back. And that's our intention at this point.
Thank you, Jen. A lot going on there. Okay.
All right.
So this is back to the Democratic strategy of blaming everything on Trump, right? Trump did the lockdowns. Now, what are the actual facts? Trump never did a national lockdown. So what Trump did was allow the states to decide how they would handle the coronavirus response. What you saw was the blue states did heavier lockdowns, the red states did not. So the Democratic Party has been extremely pro-lockdown. Tony Fauci is still employed as the chief advisor to the president, who is the orchestrator of the lockdowns. It's pure gaslighting to suggest that the Democratic Party does not support lockdowns. They support mask mandates, vaccine mandates. All of those are forms of lockdowns. You don't get a vaccine, you can't go to your job. You're literally locked out of your job. So this infuriates me that this is what they're going to try to do.
So I found this, the part that I found the most troubling to me is like, imagine, so there was this analogy that I heard one time. It's like, well, our government is a chandelier and the president is the largest, lightest, brightest bulb, but the rest of the chandelier has many more bulbs that are a part of the system. Mm-hmm. And Anthony Fauci and a lot of the people in the CDC are carryovers from Trump's presidential term to this presidential term. Mm-hmm. So to take no ownership over, so let's go back to the question. She was like, hey, there's a Johns Hopkins study that showed that the lockdown had next to no effect on mortality. However, it had a lot of effect economically. So are you guys going to take ownership over a mistake? That was the question. Yep. The correct answer was, yes, we did lock down and we've learned from it and we will not do it moving forward. We learned from our mistake, as is science. You learn over time.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with saying that. What I cannot seem to understand is every single time they've asked Fauci this question, he has always dodged admitting ownership over fault. I cannot understand it.
And I can actually understand Fauci doing that because he's literally at fault for the lockdowns. Like that is him and Birx. So, but like Jen Psaki and the president, yes, they weren't president then. They weren't in office. Like, why can they not say, hey, like, the previous administration tried this strategy. It deemed to be ineffective. This study is one thing that's showing that. And we're not going to use it moving forward. Like, why are they so unable, as you said, to take ownership for anything?
Yeah.
And that, this is what Americans are screaming for in any kind of thing. Take ownership of it, admit fault, and say you're not going to do it again. Like, that's literally it. And then I wouldn't have to scream every week.
Well, because like what Matt said, right? You're painting a false reality that then makes the person who knows the truth be like, oh, wait, did I have false memory from what happened 2 years ago when I was an adult and had to close down my dental office because of a lockdown? Like, did I forget this? Maybe. And it does. If you're going to just like be false facts and create a false perception of reality, like that is by definition gaslighting.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was shocking to me when I heard that.
I mean, it really is. And my last thing on COVID corner here, I'm going to talk about. So I want to talk about what they are going to say in the State of the Union and in the near future that is part of this gaslighting. So these are the strategies they're going to go with. So they're going to say, no one forced you to take the vaccine. Like, you were never forced. No one chained you down to take it. We didn't force you to take it. When in reality, you would lose your job, your freedom, your ability to go to restaurants, ability to go to events. You would lose all that, but no one forced you. So there was no vaccine, man. No one forced you. We didn't do that. There's going to be a big push to get this Omicron specific vaccine coming out in the spring. And the uptake of this is going to be paltry. Like, not a lot of people are going to get this Omicron specific vaccine, just like a lot of people didn't get the booster shot. But they're going to credit this vaccine for our way out of the pandemic restrictions. This vaccine has saved us. We can now move on and live some semblance of normal. That's the next thing. And this one they might do. I'm not sure. They might blame Trump for the initial vaccines being ineffective. They might say that he rushed them out, that he, forced the hand of Pfizer and Moderna to make vaccines too quickly, and they weren't effective. That might be a strategy. So look out for that one.
That'd be absurd.
I know. I don't see that as super likely, but it is possible. But look, I mean, I am gonna have appointment television of Biden's address of the union on March 1st. I cannot wait. There's gonna be a lot of good stuff in there.
So I think that, so now I'll go into my, analysis and sort of discussion that I think follows that COVID corner, where when you look at the policies that are being made and you look at the lack of scientific data that is being used to make policy, I think that's obvious, right? That's our whole like thesis upon getting so irate about every COVID corner.
Mhm.
And the flip side is, what is the driving mechanism for these unusual restrictions? Like, you just got back from Cabo, where an entire population in a different language has been tricked into doing a lot of ineffective COVID restriction type stuff.
I had to wear a mask to walk onto the boat.
Like that crossed languages.
Yeah.
That means that like someone in English told someone in Spanish to have the same rules that don't make sense.
Mhm.
Like, our whole world is sort of like working together around this, right? And that's the piece that I find the most fascinating is, what are we doing as a, right, like the United Nations, the internationally, what the hell is going on here? Where it's like I can't understand why. That's what I'm trying to grab why are we doing this?
I think it has to be making government in general across the world more powerful, and it has more influence over people's lives, which is a lot of the goal of people in power, is to be more powerful. Power is contagious. It's something that people really like and want, and that's the only thing I can really think of is why, like, a coordinated world event to make this stuff happen, to have government more in our lives.
And so this is where I'm from the Middle East, and I think that one thing that you get being from that part of the world is, like, I've gone back there a lot growing up, and you see history, right? That's like the oldest,
Yep.
part of modern civilization. And I think you see like, okay, like, we had different empires, and this, this current status of our current geographic makeup is post World War II, right? That's when countries sort of redid the mapping and all that stuff. And I think that there's a book come out, it's called The Fourth Turning. Have you heard of it?
No.
So it talks about how every so many years there's like a sort of a revival, evolution, change in government. And I think that, like, if you think about it, right, life will never go back to the way it was March 1st, 2020, right? Like, even no matter how far past COVID, it'll always be different. And there is a shift to state governments are much more powerful than they used to be. And there's essentially like a fragment that happened in our entire country, where it's like states are now their own countries, where they have their own tax rates, they got their own rules, we got people moving to different states for the laws.
Mhm.
And it seems like government sort of shifted to like this single state situation, right? And even internationally, like, every country has their own COVID laws, and people travel to certain places and not others.
I kind of like this shift, honestly.
I do too. I think it's for the better.
I mean, I've long argued, to many people's chagrin, I think the country should break up.
And I don't think it'll break up formally,
Right.
but I think informally there is a segregation that has happened, right? The divide between the red party and the blue party is bigger than it probably ever has been, right?
Definitely.
I mean, and states now, I mean, like, states are different countries. Like Arizona, California, that border, like, wow. When you cross that border, it's
yeah.
a different world.
Yeah.
Like, the people think completely different things. It's like, you realize we're like maybe 500 miles away from LA. And in LA, the whole city is in a mask, and like, it's the level of COVID concern is through the roof. And like, we're here like so close.
Arizona is a rare place in a good way, in that even the cities don't fall into the COVID hysteria. Like, if you go to not Miami, but if you go to like Tampa or Orlando, like cities in Florida, one of the freest states, they're big on COVID stuff.
Really?
Not Phoenix. Like not my experience in Phoenix at all. Which is great. It's pretty unique for a big city.
Yeah,
big cities
so
are usually liberal leaning and support these kind of things.
so I grew up in Tucson, and Tucson's a very liberal place. So
Yeah.
Tucson is the exception
You
to
might
this.
see a little bit of
Yeah, Tucson's got a little bit more masks and a lot more blue
Mhm.
environment. I like that this is a red blue issue because it's like science.
I know.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's ridiculous.
and I think Phoenix is like a California Dallas hybrid. It's like if Dallas and California had a child, then it would be Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of California transplants and probably some Dallas too.
Yep. So anyway, I got something I got to talk about.
Go for it.
So, have you heard of the Rooney Rule?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is interesting.
All right. So
wait, I hope you're going to talk about the other thing that came out recently.
what?
The $100,000 payments.
What?
Oh, we'll get some.
Okay, so hold on. So for anyone who doesn't know the Rooney Rule, the NFL has an affirmative action program that if your team develops a coach who is in part African American or maybe another recognized minority, I don't know if there's any, maybe like an indigenous American or something like that, other minorities into an NFL head coach, that team gets draft picks in compensation for their.
Oh, I didn't even know that. They got a draft pick?
Oh, they get 2 draft picks.
No way. Really?
So the San Francisco 49ers have been cashing in on the Rooney Rule. Head coach of the New York Jets is
Salah.
Who is part
He's
black.
African American, yeah.
And they got picks for that. Brian Flores just got fired down in Miami, replaced by offensive coordinator of San Francisco 49ers, who, when you look at him, seemingly white, apparently is also part African American, and also cashed in on the draft picks for the 49ers.
So the team where the coach came from
gets the picks. And they create new picks. They don't take picks from anyone. They just put them in the back of the draft.
Wow.
For that round. So I believe these are 2nd or 3rd round picks. These are valuable
Those
picks.
Are big picks. And I thought the rule was only that you have to legally interview or at least consider a minority head coach before you hire one. I mean, that's part of the rule.
So the Rooney Rule is, and so this is where, I don't know, obviously I'm not an expert in the NFL collective bargaining agreement, although I might act like one. And it's the Rooney Rule is an affirmative action measure made by the league that has all kinds of incentives for teams to, and I agree with, so this is, I think affirmative action is such an interesting conversation, and I can see it from both sides, and I genuinely don't know what's right or wrong.
Yeah, me too.
I'm genuinely stuck, because on one hand, I do see that as a percentage of, right, like if a percentage of the players in the NFL, right, highly African American as a larger percentage, and then you have like 3 head coaches who are black in the league, it's a problem, right? It's a problem that needs to be addressed. At the same time, the tokenization and incentives of people just feels wrong.
Yeah.
Like just tokenizing, oh, this person's heritage is part this, which means they, I mean, do you not think that the San Francisco 49ers had any intention? I mean, it's not an accident that the 2 coordinators that they just had poached were both part black. Like, that has to be part incentive, right? Like, if you have 2 people that are equal and, this person might get poached away from you and you get picks, like, right? Like, there's an advantage to picking someone over someone else.
And there's also the weird scenario of, with the Brian Flores that just came out in the news. He interviewed for the Giants head coach, and they had already made their decision to hire, Brian Daboll, who's a white man. So they kind of do this interview with Brian Flores just as like to pass the Rooney Rule.
Yeah.
When they have no, like, they don't want this person. They already have their guy. So it's like that weird, like, I'm just doing this to follow a rule. I'm not actually considering this person. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't know which side is correct.
So it's like, on one hand, right, the objective analytical person in me is like, oh, well, we just treat all people as if there is no color and they're all the same. And like, yeah, but that's not fact. Right. And people, unfortunately, don't behave that way. But the point system of like, you're collecting these rare items and trading them. Like, I don't like that either. Like, we're tokenizing race and we're making it like you're trading people for a benefit. Like, I don't like that either.
Yeah, and I'm always interested in like college admissions and how they handle this. And that if you look at like a Harvard, it is a bad, a less good thing for you as an applicant to be Asian or white.
Yeah, for sure.
You can have the same test scores and resume, and a black student's going to get in more likely than not than an Asian or white. And it's and then I see the other side, right? Like, these people, some of them had a disenfranchised upbringing and, harder, less access to resources and all that. So like they do need that boost. So it's very
well, and I
sticky.
think that it goes down to, so I talked to Tyler Tolbert about this one time, and I thought he had, he grew up in Macon, Georgia, and he had, I thought, one of the best explanations for the need for affirmative action. Because when you look at the district drawings and the funding of school systems in certain states, it is extremely segregated. The schooling system just in the district lines based on where people live. And so, yes, someone who is Black by statistically is at a severe disadvantage due to the probability that they're going to an inferior school system for their entire life. Like, there is a problem. I don't think we've found the solution yet.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I don't think the tokenization of adults in certain industries is the solution. Like, we have, like dentistry, right? Like, there's a lot of women that work in dentistry, and we're not going to like tokenize, male hygienists. And like, like we have Tommy, our hygiene coach, but like, we're not going to like sit there and like make meaning out of what our ratio is from men to women. Right. Like, it's just
like our coaching department's all women, and like we wouldn't see a male applicant who wants to
think differently of them one way or the other. It's just
Yeah.
like, we just hire whoever's best for the job, and we don't really think about a whole lot else. And the probabilities and statistics and demographics just kind of play themselves out. And so I think that that's where I would like people to get to, but I could see how that could be seen as a step backwards. But I think that there's a more proactive, long-term, sustaining step forward that's actually fixing the problem of education, as opposed to like just putting people in roles that they may not be qualified for based on their,
You think maybe the solution is just that the boomers finally die out?
Yeah, I mean, right. So there's systemic racism, but I think that systemic racism isn't going to go away with the
You don't think
boomers.
so?
No. I think I've seen enough younger generation.
Really?
Yeah. So I unfortunately had the displeasure of going to a Chiefs game, where I did feel.
Really?
Oh, I did feel like racially discriminated against at a
Jeez.
Chiefs game. Yeah.
How so, if you don't mind? me
So
asking?
like, I'm Middle Eastern,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of misinformation post 9/11 about the Middle East. And, at times in certain environments, I get that same thing, like in airports and stuff like that. Like, Kayla and I have the running joke of how many times she's pulled for a random screening. And it's like, she's right now has 6 with me and 0 before me. And
Wow.
she's been pulled 6 times for a random screening.
Wow, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We had 4 times in a row, like 4 trips in a row. She got pulled in the Phoenix
Well,
airport.
as an interracial couple, you're statistically more likely to bomb that airplane.
Yeah. And they are correct to randomly do that.
I guess if you're literally going based on data.
I mean, but like, it's like I've seen it, and
Yeah.
I don't see it going away in the younger generation,
That's too bad.
because I think it goes back to like, like you talk about Trump on the show, and like Trump has a negative connotation, because of the people at times and the way they're portrayed in the media that follow him, and it's like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it going away. I definitely don't.
I don't know why I just thought of this, but remember the time Trump was eating Mexican food and saying how much he loves Mexican people as he's sitting there eating like a burrito or something? It's just so silly and stupid.
Yeah, there was a period of time that I did enjoy a lot of his some speeches.
So tone deaf and dumb, but like still funny at the same time.
So I'm gonna change the vibe. And I want to play is a 4-minute video too much to play? Okay. So then I'll just describe.
You played part of it?
Sure. I can play part of it, and then you can tell me when to cut it off.
Okay.
So this is, I think this is one of I talk about this on the Bulletproof podcast coming out, and I thought I would put some more information on it here. So,
Nice.
Okay, this is a video about Steph Curry.
Kobe Bryant Nike Skills Academy. Nike invited the top 20 high school shooting guards and the top 10 college shooting guards in the country to this camp with Kobe. And it's kind of funny now that I look back on it, how many of those players are now household names in the NBA. However, at that time, The least recognized player there was Steph Curry. But I knew immediately that he was the most impressive, and that thinking long term, he was going to be a future NBA superstar. And here's how I knew that. It was all because of his work habits. Now, those skills academies, we would have 2 workouts a day for 3 straight days. 30 minutes before every single workout, most players were still in their flip-flops and had on their headphones. And Steph Curry had already started doing some form shooting. He had already started taking game shots, game spots, and games. By the time the workout officially started, he had probably already made 100, 150 shots and was in a full sweat. When the workout actually started, he was meticulous with everything that he did. He made sure that he had perfect footwork. He made sure that he had perfect shooting form. If he did anything and it wasn't perfect, he did it over again. And he didn't need a coach to tell him, he just did. And then probably the most impressive thing that he did was as soon as every workout was over, he would not leave the court until he switched 5 free throws in a row. You know how hard that is? But that's the level of excellence that he holds himself to. And the moral of that story is that success is not an accident. Success is actually a choice. And Stephen Curry is one of the best shooters on the planet today because he has made the choice to create great habits. And my question to you is,
the question to you, are the habits that you have today on par with the dreams that you have tomorrow?
Profound.
That's the next line in the, I mean, I know that video so well.
Yeah.
And I think that it's, so you and I talk about this all the time, right? Process over result.
Mm-hmm.
And this struck me. When I first found this video, I was an undergrad at the U of A, and Steph Curry was just kind of coming on the scene, and it was the first kind of breakout season. And this guy like talked to him back in college when no one knew him, and everyone feels like Steph Curry just blew up out of nowhere. And he's like, no, this guy has had the most meticulous dedication to excellence for years at a time. And that's why he's incredibly good at something. And he has that quote, and you've heard me say this: success is not an accident, it's a choice. And your actions today, your habits, and what you do are what decide the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the level of inspiration that singular story has given me, I don't think I was aware of until I said it on Bulletproof Podcast. Like, oh yeah, this YouTube video changed my life. And I bet that sounded a little odd, but like when I play it back, I'm like, oh no, like that straight up is my mentality because of that video. Like I was that inspired by somebody who, and my relationship with Steph Curry is, hated him for a long time because he kept beating LeBron. and then I learned to appreciate the fact that he is one of the most talented players that's ever played basketball, and he's able to do that with next to no physical innate gifts.
Yeah, and he revolutionized the game.
Yeah,
more than many other players. Here's where I struggle with that. So I feel like it's very easy when like you're an NBA basketball player, like your goal in your life and your habits is to be better at basketball. For people like us or people listening who don't have that like singular goal, this is what I do, this is my purpose. How do you take the lessons from that video and put it in your real life?
Yeah, so I think that's where I'm very process oriented, and I think it's essentially setting up your life to be a process that is designed to get you what you want. So let me use okay, can I use my own golf game as an example, or is that too?
Yeah, do a non-sports example.
Non-sports example. Okay. I mean, the best example I have is dental school. So at the beginning of dental school, right? Like you talk about that quote that I talk about a lot that like was a very pivotal moment for me, was hearing Howard Ferrand talk. What do you call a dentist that does 1 or 2 things right? A millionaire. And I had an obsession all the way through dental school of doing nothing other than learning as much as possible in practice management. And it was like a day-to-day thing, like hours per day on Dental Town, listening to podcasts, staying committed to something. And so like you think our audience, like you have a lot of pre-owner dentists who are in a first-year dental student, second-year dental student, and we look at them and you can tell the ones that are going to be super successful, right? Like right away. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's going to kill it. And it's like, well, how do we know that? Because we've seen their process and we see who they are. And then we know that with time. And it's like, we graduate and then things go well. And it's like, okay, well, that's because of all that time I spent. And people think that the success that they experience now in their life is because of what they're doing now, but it's actually based on what they did for the last 7 years that got them here. And I think that if we're using work, it's, if it's my goal to be, the best at this product or be the best company that offers this service or be the best dentist that does this procedure, like my process for feedback, my process for gaining skills, my process for getting better, there has to be a proven process that you use to sort of, I guess, get results.
And I think the struggle, especially for like pre-owners listening, is to, finding a practice and buying a practice will be your goal for a lot of you in that time. But you have to think about what is going to be your goal when you take over an office, because it's a lot easier to like, everything I do is learning about buying a practice and practice management, and then I bought it, and then it's like, well, now what? Like, now what is success? Now I'm going to be here for 20 years, and like, how do I have that same excitement around what I'm doing that I did in the hunt, in the search? Because
Well,
I felt that in my own journey.
Well, I feel like Alex Sharp is a great example of this principle personified in somebody. Like Alex goes into his office every day that he's there with intention, with discipline, with his culture in mind, with what he's trying to build. His vision is very present in the way that he works every day, the way he interacts with team members and patients and everything is to build a culture. And I think that success is not an accident, it's a choice. The culture at Sharp Family Dentistry that we talk about, it's not an accident. It's a choice that Alex makes every single day, and he's made that since 2018 when he bought the practice. And I think that principle, right? And like we talk about it, learning practice management information, we talk about it in your ownership journey of walking in every day with your vision in mind and staying committed to that excellence and making sure that what you do today is on par with whatever you want in the future, so that you do that every day over a period of time and you'll get there.
So I just bought actually this flag. It's a quote from a Navy ship in the War of 1812. It's called "Don't give up the ship." So when the captain of the ship was dying, and his last words to his person who was going to be taking over was "Don't give up the ship," and that person ended up winning the battle against the British. So
what's the significance of the quote? Can you sort of deep dive into it a little bit more?
Do you want well, the significance is that it was his dying words, and then they won the battle right after.
But what does that phrase mean? Don't give up the ship.
The meaning is like, you have such conviction in what you're doing, the goals you're after, your dreams, that don't give up the ship when stuff gets hard, when like things aren't going right and you're in the muck. A lot of what we're going through in our business now, it's like you believe so strongly in this, you believe in the people you're with, you believe in the end result. Don't give up the ship when times get hard. Stick with it and see it through. Again, process oriented, very similar.
Yeah, and I think that like in our business, we are so annoyed with the grind of a process and the delays and a lot of things that happen when you're trying to do what we're trying to do. And it's that same thing, right? Like we believe in what we're doing enough to withstand that. And I love that. Like, and so it's like from a war perspective, how do you lose? You wave the white flag. Until then, you don't lose.
No.
You just stay in it.
You show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. That's what I say. Be a bad loser. I'm a bad loser.
So I love that. Don't give up the ship. I wrote that down.
So I just bought a flag. It's going to sit above my home office.
So what's the War of 1812?
Don't know. I think it was Americans versus the British, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unsure about that one.
Me too.
Anyway, so that was, I thought I wanted to leave the success is not an accident. And now, can I talk about what I'm doing in my golf game? Can I use a sports analogy?
Do we want to do that, or do we want to do this question?
Oh, what's the question?
About the business model.
Business. Oh,
up to you. I don't care. We can save it for next time. Or
I think we should save it for next time because you got a long, drawn out thing, and we're kind of wrapping up. So, Matt, you're gonna love this. So, my process of being a golfer in my whole life, I started playing when I was 14, and my process was go spend more time on the golf course to get better. And when I'm struggling, I go spend more time golfing to get better. Reps. That's really all I've ever done. Reps.
Yep.
And it reached a head, and I was like, all right, I'm frustrated. It's 15 years of golf. I have played golf for more than half of my life.
Yeah, it's tough when you think about how long it's been.
And my game has not improved significantly in a very long time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to tear the whole thing down and start over. And so I got what's called Decade Golf. And so Decade is this guy who was a wannabe professional golf player. He played on some like kind of amateur tours, never really made it. Really good mathematician, figured out Moneyball and golf. And it's just an emotionless, completely statistically math driven way to golf. And this is what I'm doing. I'll tell you what I'm doing and then we can follow the progress.
I told you about this guy months and months ago.
I've heard about this guy months ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't that wasn't the shift for me.
Yeah.
The shift was me making the decision that I would like to be a golfer that routinely breaks 80.
Me too, man.
That's my play. So I am looking at what do players do that shoot between 75 and 78.
Mhm.
That is my target, and I will do what they do, and I will not do anything else. So like,
So let's hear some stuff.
so they consistently drive the ball 250 yards, and that's all you need to go.
Okay.
You don't need to go more than that. The rest you just need to be consistent.
Have you got to the parts of measuring the fairways and when to hit driver, when not to hit driver, the flow chart?
Yeah. So right now, what I'm doing is I've sort of broken down my bag, and so I'm gonna get new clubs eventually, and I have like different swings for different clubs, and for each one, I'll know my average deviation, I'll know how far it goes, and I'll know in what situations when to use those things, and then I'll have the yardage book and do the whole process.
Would you ever consider doing the Bryson thing of getting all the clubs the same length?
No,
That's something I wish I had done.
No, I think that's a gimmick.
Because then when you're practicing the same swing. It's just a different loft versus like it's a different stance a little bit with a shorter club, a longer club.
Actually, that's true. Why aren't we doing that?
I don't know.
Yeah, why don't amateurs do that?
No idea. It makes no sense.
You just convinced me. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. So like I'll show you, Matt, like I'll show you my note here on my phone where I'm sort of keeping all of this logged. And it's so a golf bag, right? So I have like each club in my bag, how many yards the shot goes, what type, and then what types of swings I'm going to be doing in what situations. And the whole point is you give yourself a list of shots and you have the discipline to not even do anything that is not on your list of approved techniques to move the ball from one spot to the other. And I think that like when you're on the course, sometimes you want to make up shots or you want to like save the hole or you want to do these things and you emotionally will go for it all and like be extremely risky. And like you remember the time that went really well and your expectation is that, but you don't realize that the thing that he really changed my mindset on is like, you'll get the birdies and good results you get are actually luck.
Yeah. Because his big thing is like you're aiming at middle of greens. Like you're trying to hit on the green, not at the flag. And so inherently you're going to make one long putt every round or two, and you'll get a birdie in that way, or you birdie a par 5 because you're close to the green, not hitting your third shot. But you really should just be aiming middle of greens.
Well, and it's funny because he showed a graph of all the PGA Tour players and what they do when there's a flag in the front of the green. They all shoot right at it, and then there's naturally a mishits. And so like everyone's short. And he's like, if they just aimed in the middle of the green, all those people that mishit the ball would be right next to the flag in the front of the pin,
True.
And so it's totally changed. And it's given me a framework to essentially apply my logical reasoning process. And I am committed to, it's going to take me around a year, I think, to accomplish this level of golf proficiency. However, my hypothesis is that once I accomplish this, then for the rest of my life, I'll be able to score well.
Yeah.
And so it's just a 1 year annoyance that I have to go through and undo 15 years of bad golf to get it, a new system in place, a new golf operating system to go there. And I think that's the thing. Like success is not an accident. It's a choice. It's a choice based on the performance of your operating system, whether that's your dental entrepreneur operating system, your personal development operating system, your golf improvement operating system, your basketball training system, right? Like everything we do is a process, whether or not we intend it to be or not. And being intentional about that is, I think it's one of the most important things to me. And so I wanted to share that with the audience.
Yeah, because what you're doing there is making your golf decision tree, a science. You're not making any decisions on the course, really. You're following the principles of what you learned and you're applying them so that you have the utmost confidence in what you're doing, the shot you're hitting, the type of what club where you're aiming, what club you're using off the tee. You don't have to do all that thinking. Golf is pure confidence. So you're going to have the utmost confidence in each shot. Therefore, you're more likely to hit that shot better than you would if you're like, oh, I'm kind of between clubs, or should I lay up on this par 5 or should I go for it? You're gonna know exactly what to do. So when you get in that like decision box or whatever the think box you like to call it, when you're about to hit the shot, there's no hesitation.
Yeah, and like think about it, right? Like the average golfer sits over the ball and they're like, all right, am I hitting the right club? The water's there on the right. Don't hit it on the right. Just whatever you do, don't go right. And okay, swing, do this so that the ball doesn't go right so you don't hit the water. All right, and then the ball goes right in the water.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, what if I could just get up here and say, I have already planned for all possible outcomes. One swing is all I have to do. Like that simplification. And it's like, you've already planned for all the outcomes. So if the ball goes in the water, that was just unlucky and that was okay.
Yeah, because your shot dispersion. If the water's on the left, you always hit the ball left to right. You can aim at the edge of the water on the left, and it's like most likely going to go on the right of the water. And then there's going to be that, 1 out of every 10 times it goes in the water. And then
that's okay.
That kind of thing will, improve over time as you play more and swing more. And then it happens even less and less than that. But like, this is the dispersion of my shot. I mean, a lot of what he talks about in Deck of Golf is like, this is my dispersion. And this is where it normally goes. So I'm going to use that to aim because it's normally going to go where I normally hit it.
Exactly. And so Matt's not going to see me on the golf course for a long time, but he will see me at the range.
Yeah.
And when he sees me back on the golf course, he will not recognize me. It'll be like a whole different player. Like, who is this guy? Why are you not getting so many double bogeys anymore? Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just a new person, new game. So
I'll be joining you. Okay. If you're going to be in the 70s in a year, I will be in the 70s in a year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like in a year, routinely break 80 is my goal.
Done.
By the beginning of 2023.
Happening.
So guys, you can, that's recorded. It's uploaded. It is on the interwebs, and I need to be held accountable.
You do.
I'm excited. All right, guys. That's another episode of the $1 Billion Podcast. A couple $1 billion guys, $1 billion ideas, and a $1 billion couch. We'll see you guys next time on the $1 Billion Podcast.